Northerly the leader. Old Comrade down the outside. Northerly shows the way from Old Comrade. Sister Patricia, Corporate Bruce and home run. But Northerly, Danny Miller coming away. And Northerly wins the railway from Old...
Here's Lucky Gray coming down the outside now. Godspoken's got up on the fence. Mr. Moet though hits the front. A boil over. Mr. Moet first up. He's won the railway from Lucky Gray. Not sure about third playing God. God has spoken. Rosie Rocket. What a win it's been by Mr. Moet. Won't the corks be a popular? I don't care. I love her eyes and her wild, wild hair. Terrific down the outside. Platinum Rocker and fire up. Fifi stride for stride. Platinum Rocker, fire up. Fifi, Lucky Gray. Lucky Gray on the outside. Swamp them, gather them up. It's another one for Lucky Gray. Lucky Gray's got home to win his second railway stakes from either Platinum Rocker. Scales of Justice, and the Durban Demon has kicked him away. Scales of Justice led 3 lengths to Good Project. Perfect Reflection, but Dougie White's going to win it on Scales of Justice. It's a mighty West Platoon. He's coming down the outside, and so's Regal Power. Regal Power levels up, grabs the lead. It's Regal Power. Regal Power on the outside. The Wizard has done it again in the railway. Here comes Inspirational Girl. She's starting to thread her way through the field. Inspirational Girl, Pike under hands and heels, ranges up, grabs the lead. It's a winning hat trick for the Wizard and goes. Pike's hardly flinched, 150 left to go, and the Hot Pot storms up, grab the lead. This is all over. It's all over bar the shouting. The Empire reigns supreme. Western Empire won it by...
And now on PG Podcast Network, it's time for the year-round Carnival with Vince Accardi and your host, Racetrack Ralphy.
Week 2 of the big WA Racing Winterbottom Stakes Day. Vince Accardi, let's have a bit of a look today. Hey, Vince.
Ralphie, good morning. I'm still asking myself all week, what happened with the Lions? Did they just disappear? Are they going to be there this week? So, like, I've got my guard up, Ralphie, because like everything, I look for these strategies that anticipate horses getting into lanes and all that. And when you see horses that are in lanes and the inside runners are out sprinting you, you just say, what's going on? What's happened? What are we going to see now at the rail out 7? Are we going to be in the same situation as last week, or is it game on for the lanes?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking of that during the week when Darley put out a tweet of Paul Leadley winning this race. I think it was 2 years ago, might have been 3, with when he beat Kiss on all 4 cheeks. And I reckon Ben Mellon was almost inside the crowd. That's how wide he was.
Yep.
So that's usually A1. Is it A1 when the rail's at 7, or does it give any leaders an opportunity to already be there?
Well, they're very close, because when they turn for home, they usually turn for home. They're going to be at about 9.
Yep.
So they're just like one off where they should be. It does always allow sometimes for a horse to come inside it. That happens. So I would just say maybe the leaders could technically get in the lanes, and if they're conscious of it, if the particular rider's conscious, then they might have a tendency to move to the right, and you should be in the lanes. But they didn't work last week, Ralphie.
They didn't, and they were in play. If you look at the replay this time last year, Overpass, of course, is going for 2 for 2 in the in the Winterbottom, but going for 4 for 4 if you include the 2 wins in the Quokka of this track and distance. But last year was such a good ride by Josh Parr. He led on his terms, but then went when he straightened, he went right in the middle of the track, so he got to the best ground first.
Yeah, so I might later on today. My intention is actually to speak to the guys at the track, just to ask some questions.
Yep.
About, like, have they done anything to the home straight for this weekend? That's really all I'm interested in.
Right,
have
well,
they
we've
done
got perfect
anything?
weather conditions, so
Yeah.
that's one thing up our sleeve. Let's have a look at the pace of the race here. Now, Overpass is a leader. When I was doing my work, he won't be by himself, though.
No, he won't be. But Ralphie, it's one of these things. Do you think Overpass would have led in the Everest
In the Everest. This
if
year,
it
yeah.
raced? I'd
Yeah,
say
this year,
yes,
definitely.
right?
Yep.
So why wouldn't it lead here? Really, are the other horses going to be that good to put that sort of pressure? The only variation you have is there's just more speed in the ground, but that shouldn't be a negative for this particular horse. It's just, is this what they going to want to do? Are they going to want to storm across and control, or are they going to try and come across with a bit of a blend? What is it that they actually want to do? I mean, what's Joss really going to want to do?
Oh, certainly. Well, you would assume lead on his terms, but he is one thing. He's got absolute masterful control of this animal.
He really does.
Yeah.
So I just sort of sit back here and say, the typical pace for this horse, if he's travelling +2 to the first section, he's definitely in his wheelhouse. And mind you, when you look at what it did, let's say at Flemington, for instance, where the horse did go +2.3, I still feel that horse had some sort of impact from the run before. Because you've got to remember, that start before at Randwick, yes, the horse only went half above benchmark early, but that ground condition, when you compare the two and off a 182-day break, you look at it and say, 0.4 above early, 3.5 in the middle. That, I feel that had an impact on the horse off a long break, especially as they get a bit older, Ralphie. They can feel that run and use a lot of energy compared to the first up run, and we've seen a little bit of a weakening, but that ground condition was affected at Flemington in comparison to what I thought it was like at Randwick. So at the top end, horse is good enough to go +4.3. We've seen at that time at Ascot, when was it, back in April, went +4.3. Yep, just absolutely flew. And then if we look at what happened December last year, it only went 2.7 below. So I just sort of sit back here and say, yeah, they're going to come across. And if the pace is +1 or +2, it's not going to make any difference. Even if it's, I would say as far as +4, the horse is still not going to be completely out of its comfort zone. And I just wonder if Bjorn's strategy this time round has been to get these couple of runs under the horse's belt, because it is a little bit older, and ensure that the horse is just like rock hard fit as opposed to fresh.
So I think from that angle, he's such a headache horse to assess. Obviously, he's on top with your most advantage here. He's the favourite in the market. But in his 3 Ascot wins, this track, this distance, 2, as I said, 2 in the Quokka, won this race last year. 2 of them he's gone out for a spell. After his first Quokka win, he went to Doomben, 4 weeks between runs. Yes, a big travel, and 1.3 lengths above benchmark when second to Giga Kick. So we haven't sort of got a guide on what he would do third up, particularly after such a booming first up win.
Yeah, true.
So it's sort of new territory. So what are you expecting him to post there, given your IVR forecast is 2.2?
Well, it is all coming back down to the shape through the first section. But I'm loath to say that if they go +4 or 5, that would undo him. I can't see it, Ralphie.
Yeah.
I can see there's a potential we could go +3 or 4, but is that going to break him open? And I'm not going to play into, well, it's a different setup. I just reckon the horse is at a different age. He came back superbly, and he really is looking just to repeat. And is this truly a stronger field? Is it really?
I wouldn't think that. No,
I don't think so either.
Big drop off.
Yeah, absolutely. So he deserves to be at the top. Now, whether he's a red hot betting proposition, that's a different story, because there are a few more calculated risks, and you touched on them. Okay, he's never done this at this time. What happens if he has to burn a lot more fuel? Will that make him extremely vulnerable late? I mean, all these things are always possible. But I just sit back here and the horses just come back in outstanding fashion. And Bjorn, he's so good, Ralphie, when he brings him over. He rarely fails. Rarely.
Absolutely. See, in your second most advanced, your third favourite is Lady Laguna. James McDonald goes on for the first time since he won. Well, he won 2 in a row earlier this year. Once at the Gold Coast Magic Millions in the Fillies and Mares, then at Rose Hill. Then she kept going. She was just airborne this time last year. She was just beaten in a sharp Group 2. Won a Randwick Canterbury Group 1, and then was narrowly beaten by V8. So she was in the zone. Remember before the Flemington race on Champions Day, you said what was nagging you was maybe she's one run away. Well, here's the run.
Yeah, and I sort of gave thought as well about the possibility is could the horse be better set up over more ground than the 1200 as well. Well, we've had the 21 days freshen up. Annabelle Neeshan's definitely got her strategy right. She proved it last week. And I feel this is a superior horse as well. Now, it's drawn perfect. J-Max definitely I feel he's going to be on a much better runner than what he was on last week. So he was probably a bit unlucky. He had a horse that turned up that looked like a greyhound and ran like that in the end, just looked like it was done, where I would be shocked if this horse wouldn't parade well, because it looked like, as you mentioned, Ralphie, the horse was very, very close to a big peak. We've seen 2 starts back at Rose Hill, went around plus 1.8. And you just look at the pace of that race, plus 6 early, Ralphie, 4.2 in the middle, entitled to be soft late. And it was. And it wasn't dramatically soft. It was just a gentle decline. But that also had a little bit of an impact in the subsequent run, taking some speed out. Now you've got the 21 days. If it's travelled well, because that was a 7-day backup, I'd say its natural cruising speed could easily be +1, +3 early. So therefore, J-Mac could be hunting in the perfect position, and with the 350 metres straight, roughly, you could easily get the split to the right. Easily. And if the lanes are working, you've got to, I almost feel this is the first horse that's going to come off that lead pack and challenge Overpass. Has to be.
Yeah. So Western Empire's probably a pair or two behind her. And, well, you couldn't have been more impressed with first up the run. And my sort of summation from that, and we discussed her on the Members Bonus podcast, we discussed him on Members Bonus podcast, that maybe he lost the battle but can win the war, because that was such a good run. But being in traffic, it gives him a good opportunity to back up 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it does. But I just sort of sit back here. If you really examine its 1,200 metre profile,
yep,
maybe if Overpass and Laguna weren't there, might look a little bit easier, possibility to win. But I just sort of sit back here and say, do you need more ground now? And are you really a risk now? Because I thought the run first up was booming. And really, the trials were indicating this horse has come back airborne. You look at the close of the horse, Ralphie, like it was just sensational last start. It really was. Plus 3.8 between the 8 and the 4, 6.1 above the last 400. Gave all those big signals that this horse is just like on fire. I don't know if there's going to be any favours coming up 100 metres though. I just wonder if this horse now should be at 14. Now, I'm respecting it, but I'm taking a position that you need longer. And I'm I've got a little bit more distance in my move at the moment.
Well, it's funny because the Monster Prize Money Gold Rush is in 2 weeks. I just looked it up while we were speaking, and his favourite for that over 1,400. So there's every chance this is a tweener run too.
Ralphie, you're a master at identifying that, right? That these trainers, they pinpoint certain races, and that to me makes absolute perfect sense. Then you got the 2 runs under your belt. You will go into that race. I'm not going to say absolutely rock hard fit, but you'll be battle ready, which is what you want, right?
Absolutely.
So I just feel lose a little bit more speed. Could be midfield, further back. Of course, the horses, I feel Pike will be looking for the lanes. unless he finds that he had a lot of cracks at him last week and they didn't work other than one. Perhaps if they are operating, then he's going to look for those lanes and the horse is going to finish hard, but it's going to be too late, I reckon.
So Roperman beat him, and he was dead set super. Now, career best, where did it come from? Well, Blinker's first time, they obviously stay on 2 weeks later, and he is a horse who 1200 is his wheelhouse.
Yeah. See, this is another interesting thing. When you look at the 1200 metre profile, doesn't match what it did last start, though, does it? And
no, so my question is that the new level because of the blinkers, or is that a complete peak?
Yeah, is it a new level because of the blinkers? Well, it was phenomenal. I mean, we just talked about Western Empire, but this horse was even more impressive on the last two splits. Look at that, Ralphie. 5-3 above and 6-3 last 400. I mean, that was massive. Absolutely massive. I just sort of sit back here and say, well, if it repeats that, that's the next biggest danger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that going to be the first one that's going to attack both those two runners, Lady Laguna and Overpass? Is this the one? If it can repeat, or did they find the golden recipe that everything worked perfectly? 1100 blinkers, the whole lot. Now back up to the 12. Is the horse going to be able to deliver? Because when it has been able to go really hard, it's off softer pace. But you could be right, Ralphie. The blinkers may have genuinely made the difference. It's only a young horse. See, this is why I have to respect it, because it's 4, and I can't sit here and say it can't repeat what it did last night. Why can't it? It's still young.
And 2 more we'll finish with is firstly Mahaba. Now, he's an assassin, Graham Begg, when he sets them. Yeah, can't help but wondering if that Flemington win last start was the bonus on the way through to here, and it was for a number of reasons, and you can explain why with that outlier race shape. Can he run a new PB tomorrow? That's probably what he has to do, but I wouldn't say he couldn't.
Well, it's 28 days, Ralphie.
Yeah.
Maybe the whole strategy was you got to turn up and run well at Flemington, and it did. It was absolutely fantastic. Overall performance plus 1.5, showed plenty of tactical pace, given that it was a fast run race at Flemington. I mean, they go on plus 7 early, Ralphie. I mean, this horse is travelling 3.5 or 3.3 above early, 3.4 in the middle. So it's pressure. And the horse did. I felt the horse ran superbly. Is that run good enough? Well, if it was Overpass's very, very best, maybe you need to find another length. But if it's not, then yeah, I mean, the horse is in the strike zone. It meets the minimum criteria of plus 1.1. You look at the race matrix, it's indicating that race was more like a plus 2.3. And this is another horse. It's only 4, Ralphie.
Yeah.
Now, I'm respecting. The horse set 2 runs in. There's no way it's over the top. Just got to travel well.
And Saloon Bar, for those looking for a bit of value, particularly for multis, what was unusual about him this time last year, and he didn't have a bit of IVR figure, but you still have to respect the Raws. He actually won this day last year, running better time than Overpass did in the Winterbottom. So he is pretty frank to this track and distance.
You sort of feel like this is obviously a target for him, no doubt, like it would be for a number of other horses. I just sort of sit back here and say, is the preparation, does it look right?
He's been up for a little while.
Yeah, because, like he couldn't have had too much time off. I mean, 99 days spell with the 2 runs. Then they give him a handful of runs. He's had 70 days off. And since then, yeah, he's had another 4 runs with a 42-day freshen up. And here we are. Like, it's had plenty of racing. And what's really evident, the speed's not there, Ralphie. Like, it's so evident. So I just asked myself this one question. If you're midfield further back, which is where I anticipate this horse to be, firstly, can you outsprint Western Empire? That's the first question I asked myself, right? And now, taking a little bit of, could you even outsprint Mahaba? Because the other 2 are going to be a lot closer to the lead pack. And then there's Rope Them In. What about that horse? Are you going to outsprint that? I don't believe it can, Ralphie. Well, it can produce a big last 400, but it's not going to produce a better one than a plus 7.2. Now, if you're 8 lengths below benchmark first section, maybe you can, but you're going to be miles from if you're travelling that speed. I feel this horse is going to have to travel somewhere around maybe 3-4 lengths below benchmark, and then still has to rattle that off. And I just feel with the loss of additional early speed, that horse might not even be able to hold that line. It might have to go even further back and be running, -6, -7, which puts you in a non-winning position.
It's a big challenge to pass all,
It
isn't
is.
it? Well, conversely, Bravo Centurion will be up front. I'll just finish with him, Mully, because he's $10 range. I'll put him in Sizzlers when he won first up, but not expecting him to go to the Winterbottom. And I did write that maybe he's a short course specialist. Under this pressure, I'd think he would have a challenge. What's your view here?
For sure. He just looks like you're a guaranteed horse to make sure there's some pace.
Yep.
That's what it looks like to me. You always got to have lead runners. So I don't know. I'm just being cruel at the moment. But the reality is I don't feel it's up to him. But it is going to be a horse that's going to ensure there's going to be tension up front.
All right, we'll touch on the last race. Few will be in the quaddie and half of Australia will be on Pikey because he's on the favourite Miss Sky High. It's not an overly strong race. Its favourite for the race over Woburn Gold that was it was a horror show this time last week. It missed the start and then found traffic everywhere. Low to moderate confidence is your thoughts the day before the race. We'll talk business tomorrow. Not a big IVR forecast. What chance of Miss Sky High repeating her run last start when winning, but she's deep into her prep?
She is deep into her prep. She did find more improvement. So from that point of view, you can really see the horses, I feel, has approached its top line. The question will be, with this stable, could the horse still find more? Going from sort of the start of the campaign, just forgetting the very first up run because of the ground conditions, and you look from the second up run onwards, the horse has sort of gone from a 5.5, 6.5 lengths below benchmark, and now with the last start performance ending up with about a -1 to 1.3 range, and doing it with a bit of comfort, Ralphy. Like, this is what it loves. It loves good dry ground. It's got good sustained pace about it, and has now clearly proven that it can handle a good level of pressure up front. Not over the top, travelling 1.2 below benchmark, but the lead speed was plus 3.8. That's a good pace. And to be tagging in a golden spot, that's excellent, and probably good for Pikey. And I'm just looking at this stable here, and I'm not going to write them off. No way. They definitely only have to repeat to be in the money.
So, made a Magic ran second to it. It's pretty logical. Where do you line up Woburn Gold? Like I said, after last week's horror show.
Well, you have to probably look at the run back in March last year to get a good assessment, and that's around the 0.8 below benchmark line. So on that line, the technicals sort of indicate that this horse is now venturing up to its best distance, 1,400 metres. And what looks very evident is this horse has gotten stronger from last campaign to this campaign. There's on a couple of factors. Number one, it's got a little bit more of a dynamic sprint, and you just look at the overall capability of how well it can sustain its last 800 metres. It's very clear that this horse has made a transition upwards. How much, Ralphie? We're going to know that tomorrow, but at 0.8 below benchmark, you're hard there as a genuine prospect. Yeah, what do you do with the guy? I haven't closely looked at Troy Turner as a rider just to see exactly what he's like, and I just sort of sit back here and say, what will you do from the barrier? That's the key. What are you going to do?
Yeah, well, hopefully jump cleanly is a starting point. As far as and just to round it off, if I'm taking a quaddie, I'm going to put Yarra Lee in, and I notice it's last at this stage on your most advantage. This track, this distance, win 3 weeks back, and I suppose if it repeats it probably stays thereabouts again.
Just that last start proved that, didn't it, Ralphie?
Yep.
0.7 below benchmark. okay, there was no pace in that race, right? Going 12.2 lengths below benchmark. That's not really a negative because it's already had the first up run. It finished very hard over the last 800 metres, so it got good rounding in terms of its conditioning. So they're all positive signs. Could it improve further? I'm not going to sit here and say that it can't, but I definitely expect to run somewhere near what it did last start. Is that going to be good enough? Well, definitely going to be competitive. I actually feel it's probably drawn good in terms of like what this horse typically likes to do, likes to sit sort of 3-4 lengths, maybe 5 lengths from the leader, and being on the inside, let's say, compared to Woburn Gold, who's got to come from the extreme outside and pretty much going to be forced to go all the way back, this runner gets the better run line profile.
Well, we just mentioned Troy Turner. Let's go to the Jungle Dawn Classic, race 7 on the program. There was nothing wrong with his ride last time on Baby Paris. In fact, it was outstanding. It was similar to what Blake Shin did on Antino in the Turak. It just took off and put everything else out of its comfort zone. The one query, I guess, there, Vince, is that sometimes it's hard to do that twice because people are ready for you.
Yeah, well, the one thing that I do know about Troy from this aspect is, because I looked at it, is his capability of handling horses up front. It's pretty good. Just not sure about if he's as good at the back. So definitely I've got the horse leading, Ralphie, but I actually feel that this horse is probably going to, equal leading. I actually feel it's going to take the sit off Miss is it Miss Flirtatious? Yeah, that's what I feel is going to happen. I feel that when I examine Troy from a lead perspective, I just see him taking a sit. He could lead if he wants to and own it, but I don't feel he has to, because I feel that Miss Flirtatious is going to create the absolute right tension earlier, going around that sort of +2 range. And Baby in Paris can easily match that if it wants to. But the reality is, drawn one doesn't have to do anything. He's just got to hunt up and say, okay, do I want to hold my line or let the other one pass me? Or make it sit. See, if it makes it sit outside of that, means they're both going to work harder. But just looking at the way he handles horses up front, I just got this feeling he's probably going to let it slide and just say, well, I'll take sit on you and then beat you up on the turn.
So Amber Glide at the moment's next best in your most advantage, and it's got the best gear change in WA racing, Vince. It's got W Pike on.
Yeah, well, drawn perfectly, going to get the golden run.
Yeah,
absolutely will get the golden run. Midfield, forward to midfield. Going to be off the fence. And all things being equal, Ralphie, you know what Pike will be doing? He'll be sitting, so I'm going to peel to the right. That's what he's going to do. He's going to peel to the right. And this horse's last 400 is just brilliant. It's very capable of producing anywhere between sort of 6 and 7 lengths above benchmark last 400. And the reality is, I actually feel it's capable of doing better than that, and definitely can hold it off a much faster pace, because it will have to go a bit quicker, because I feel that this lead speed is going to be around that +2 range, possibly a slightly higher. And I just feel Pike is going to be somewhere between 4 and 6 lengths off him. So it's going to be asked to go a little bit quicker than what it normally does. But then I look at the horse's sustained speed over the last 800 metres, and this is why I'm confident that if he just holds his line and waits for the last 400, which is what Pikey does, Ralphie, right?
Oh, for sure.
And then just explodes. He keeps that explosion in the horse, gets into the lanes, keeps the explosion. And if this horse is in that spot, comes to the turn, and he's only got these other horses, really, the only horse he's got to worry about is one horse, Baby in Paris. That's the one he's going to be worried about that's in front of him. And if we're looking at who's going to have the bigger sprint, there's no question that Amber Glide's going to have the bigger sprint. Just a matter of are the lanes operating or not. So
there's one at odds here that you found in Rusty Dreams. Now, last start went forward in blinkers. Blinkers go back off, so they're clearly saying it didn't work. It actually came through the race that you just discussed with Amber Glide. So it was playing that start, but that says it can rebound, probably ridden a bit more on the conservative side, and Jordan Childs goes on.
Yeah, but look at the pace they went at. Actually, see, this is what makes me laugh. They've gone 9 lengths below benchmark early.
Yeah, they didn't go quick. Yeah.
So, really, that's where you want it to be. It had nothing to do with the blinkers. Not in my view. That was the nature of the race.
Yep.
No pace. But this horse, realistically, it's always ridden best when it's off the pace, definitely, but not in that case. I mean, that's where you want it to be. And one of the biggest errors they make on this horse is they always concede too much ground. They make the big run in the mid. They make a big move there and never has quite enough energy left at the end. It's rock hard fit now. Realistically, they're probably going to go back to last, Ralphy, or near last. That might not be the place you want to be. But in terms of capability, if they could actually use a little bit of tactics, not to be in the lead speed, but just tag Pikey. If you could just tag Pikey, it's all you got to do. Because if you look at where you're drawn, your next door neighbour is William Pike. That's all you got to do.
Well, I dare say a good rider like Jordan Childs, that'll be his absolute mindset.
Yeah, so if he does that,
Yep.
then he gets a nice slipstream run, doesn't have to make a massive move in the mid-race, which costs him, and he can leave all the energy for late. And who knows? He could be the one that makes the move with another glide, and they're the two that are going to be, going hard at it. The only variation is this. Pikey might be very aware of that if he's alongside him. If Geordie's behind him, then that would be an advantage for Geordie. But if it's not, and he's just going to try and keep with him on the inside, then Pikey will definitely outmaneuver him in the home straight.
Well, Love and Walk covered ground in that race, but as you said, they weren't going fast. It was just plain. But first up, it was super. Maybe it was still flat. Is there a case to be made for Love and Walk? Because, I put her in Sizzlers after that run on the second, and I thought, well, she's in for a good prep, but she definitely went, sideways to be generous.
Yeah, I feel this horse is looking for more ground, Ralphie.
Yep.
I really feel this horse is now looking for a mile or more, possibly 2,000, and I'm sure there's other races coming up. So that's a little bit of a risk for me, and it was a clear variation. I mean, to only want to go at that speed, 9.6 below benchmark. Well, as you can see, they're a length from the leader, but you wouldn't want to be a length from the leader here. You'd be in a lot of trouble unless you're just looking for a battle hardening run. But I just feel this horse will drop back and come home and watch for it next start.
Makes perfect sense. All right, we'll talk business on that tomorrow. Race 6 on the program here is the Listeer. It's also over 1,400 metres. It's for the 3-year-olds here. The favourite for the race is Wind and the Lion. At the moment, your most advantage, though, is 6 Shooter.
Yeah, well, if you look at Wind and the Lion, it's impossible to fault, right? Just had the 3 runs. Just the only little concern I have was I didn't like the way the overall last 400 was run in terms of getting out early, going 2.3 above between the 8 and the 6. You see this pretty sharp drop off between the 6 and the 4, and then it lost almost 3 lengths between the 4 and the 2, and there was a little bit of a rebound, but it didn't break benchmark. Probably wasn't as good a run as the start before, and I just wonder if that had something to do with the pace they put into the horse through the first section. And now we're at 1,400. What you want is you obviously want to be able to relax. And this is a race where I don't feel you have to go very fast, but could they find themselves up near the lead? Could they find themselves wanting to use a little bit more fuel earlier than they want? And will there be some vulnerability over the last 300 or 400 metres? That's probably my only reservation. First time 1,400. I want to see it do it.
So that's the Wind and the Lion. So where does 6 Shooter line up? Because it's on the quick backup, and it comes from the Belmont midweeker. It was pretty good though. Smashed him.
I thought it was outstanding. 0.4 below benchmark. Race Matrix got it slightly behind with a minus 1.9, but it did everything right. 3.9 below benchmark early. Couple of lengths slower than the previous run. The horse is breathing beautifully, and it's up the front in a controlled manner. 1.7 above between the 8 and the 4, 3.9 last 400. You couldn't execute much better than that. Slight little dip between the 4 and the 2, but overall, very strong right through the line. Got into the top 10 for the day. Hard to knock, Ralphy. I actually feel this horse is still trending upwards. The only reservation you could possibly have is this. You're always a run-to-run proposition in your first campaign.
Yeah.
That's all. But other than that, I can't fault it.
So the quick backup filly is London Image, and I want to stress filly because sometimes they don't back up as well off fast pressure race, and it led in the Guineas last week, but back to 1400 probably suits as well.
Yeah. I just don't feel it works well when you're going that fast early.
Flat in the city.
+9, that's world record for this horse.
Yep.
I feel when the horse is running in the 5 range, it's like real maximum sort of tension. But you have a look at what it did there. +9.1 first section, 3.8. That was the killer. That mid-split really would have affected this horse. I don't believe that works well for a fast backup. Now, I know there's always a theory about it, but I don't believe this is a good theory for this horse and coming back to the 1400 metres. I just don't see that being the best move. But still, in terms of its capability, it's positive. It's a genuine horse that can run around that length below benchmark. You know there's no issues with the 1400 metres. It's just the setup isn't right.
So my lower didn't have much luck behind Wind and the Lion last start. It's Pikey and Team Williams off a win also at Ascot at the Melbourne Cup meeting on the 5th. How's it trending?
I just didn't like the way the last 400 was on this horse overall, Ralphie. Yes, there was a little bit of a dip there between the 4 and the 2, but still couldn't rebound off that dip, and it was 3.6 lengths below benchmark. Even the start before, when it had a very cruisy run, and this is usually the guide, Ralphie, 5.9 lengths below benchmark early. You broke benchmark in the middle going 0.8 above. You can't get much softer than that for this sort of setup. It can only manage a +1.2, which I nominated as a peaking run for me. And then it turned up at its following start, same distance. Yes, had to use a little bit more fuel, but that finish wasn't there, Ralphie. I has to be a question mark of 1400.
Let's have a look at race 5. I can't wait for this race because the two favourites, it's a bit of a match up here. So Joker's Grin, is there any even money? Nearly some even money around, about 190. Generosity around about $5 here. We said we can't wait for it to have a throw at the stumps at 1200. It's relaxing its races. Its first up win was booming. Conversely, Generosity, the feeling was, and this is where race shape can come into it, that maybe it's looking for 1400. Well, Simon Mill's a very smart trainer, but he's chosen to stick at 1200 metres. Under this circumstance, at the moment, it's most advantage on your grid for the early edition. What's your thoughts here?
Well, firstly, if we look at Generosity, the last 2 runs in particular, no pace early. And I'm talking about, it's borderline barrier trial. 11.9 below benchmark 2 starts back, first section, 11.3 below last start. They're barrier trial pace, Ralphie. They're barrier trials -12, -16. That's where you are. Mid-race, last start, 0.8 above. Nice solid move in the mid-race. And then you've got this phenomenal last 400 motor, and it was breathtaking, +9.5, Ralphie. It's massive.
Can't be going better.
Yeah, this is Generosity. Just brilliant. Yep. And it's done on multiple occasions. I don't see any issues staying at the 1200 metres. I don't believe they've definitely. I feel like they've made a good move to keep it there. The horse
is that because you're expecting faster pace?
Yeah, absolutely. And the horse is ready. It's when they're going like this, they're not even having half. They're having at best half runs.
Yeah.
So 2 runs makes 1. There's no way you've taken speed out of the horse.
Yep.
And you should still have plenty of bounce in you. And typically, this horse can run 3-5 lengths below benchmark very comfortably and still peel off a big 400. So respect's got to be given there in a pretty serious way. And then you've got Joker's Grin, who everything is pointing to, get me to 1,200 metres again. And you've got to respect that too. I mean, that first up run, probably softer than ideal through the first section, 6.5 lengths below benchmark. The last 800 metres was huge. It was combined plus 8.1. And then last start, got exactly what you needed. Much sharper early pace, almost benchmark first section. And you could see the variation. By doing that, you've improved your early pace by 6 lengths. Huge for the cardio. 2.1 versus a half above last start. A little bit of a dip. 4.5 last 400 versus plus 6. A little bit of a dip. Why? Felt the impact of that pressure and the tension, but still finished strong. Now, it's going to get to the 1,200 metres. It's going to be able to breathe, relax, and probably ready to put its best foot forward. And now let's see what it's got. It's already a solid benchmark horse.
I'd confidently say this, that the market's going to let you on because of that fact that its only defeat was at 1,200. Now, it was on debut, it was a whole lot of things, but I think that's a sign that the market will let you on because, as you said, you've made such a case for generosity that she's going to run well. Well, there'll be a bit of push and pull in the market here. So if you like Joker's Grin, I wouldn't be in a hurry to take the price now. I think they'll probably get out to the sort of low 2 range tomorrow.
Oh, for sure, you want to be waiting. I mean, I feel any horse that starts borderline black, or where the market is right now, it's just always a joke. It's just rubbish. They got the pencil or the pen wrong.
You're pretty happy that it's a 2-horse race?
It looks that way, Ralphy. It really does. It's hard to see it any other way.
Always a good spectacle, the regional championship at the Road to Ascot. They come from everywhere in race 4, but it also means probably not a betting race.
I like the way you say they come from everywhere. Well, again, the hurdle rate's minus 1.9. So you've got to look for horses that have that capability. And this is why I ended up with it. Is it Evelina Ralphy with the Chris Barnum? Is that the name of the... Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm always worried about my pronunciations, Ralphie. But the only thing I didn't like was this. In terms of where it's at, with the 0.9 below benchmark, it's ideal for this race, right?
Yep.
But realistically, you've been up since June, and I don't get these guys. They just run them all the time. So that has to be my reservation. But who am I to say that the 28 days, it can't just come out and repeat what it's done the last 2 times off the 28-day break, and that's being the money. So I just said, I'm going to respect it, going to keep it there. Just doesn't profile right, that's all. But in terms of what you need to win, you'll easily meet the criteria and you're a decent price.
Well, when I was doing my prep last night for race 3, I thought, can't really make a case for much. And now comes your early edition and low confidence. I don't think race 3 will be a race that you'll be involved in.
Oh, Ralphie, wow. It's not easy. But did you have a look at the 3 yourself?
As in Bondi Plunge?
Bondi Plunge.
I couldn't make a good case for it, but like I said, it sort of I didn't think it was sort of an overly attractive race. What's the case for it?
Well, I feel that the horse is better suited back at the 12 right now where they're at, right?
Yeah.
And given that there's going to be good pressure in the race, if it can reproduce what it did at Belmont second up and run somewhere near that number, even if it's just benchmark, I reckon that's ideal. But it was clearly evident last start. There's no speed. The horse is going 7 lengths below benchmark. Not enough finish. Surely coming back to the 1,200 is a big plus. They've had 21 days to put a bit of freshness back in the horse, and that's where it belongs. So I'm expecting a very sharp rebound from this horse coming back to 1,200 metres. And if you look at some of the runs at 1,200 metres, the horse has been pretty respectable. In my way, the way I'm looking at it, I'd respect it. So they're all good. Am I going to put my money on it? No.
It's at $7 range. A race that does interest, though, is race 2. Market's got it as a bit of a match-up, Fly with Caution and Royal Toronado. Oh, my goodness. I don't think I've ever seen a horse make as much ground as Royal Tornado did to nearly win last week. It was outbobbed from, 30 lengths off the leader. It was just ridiculous, the type of race shape that it was. So how does it line up with Fly With Caution tomorrow?
Well, it was. You were right, Ralph. It was huge, right? Absolutely huge. 9.3 length above benchmark in the mid. That squeeze was 18.1. Here we are coming back 300 metres, and we're on a fast backup. But it is the right stable, and perhaps they might have done a world of good for the horse, having that monster moving them. Because really, you shouldn't be flattened at this time, where you are in your campaign. Look, if you're flat now, you should be out for a spell, right?
Yeah.
So my reservation will be is how much more early speed could you lose from that? That's all. Coming back 300 metres, but in terms of rock hard fitness, wow, it's where you want it.
Whereas the reverse is Fly With Caution. It ran second to Royal Tornado last start. It's got 4 weeks between runs, and it's early in its prep relative for an 1800 horse. It's only 4th run in.
I reckon it's better set up.
Yep.
Absolutely better set up. Firstly, that drop off over the last 200 metres wasn't that bad. Like, for what it did, third up, first time for the prep up to 1,800 metres was actually excellent. 2.8 early above, held its line, 2.6 above to the 400 metre mark, and then we had a drop off. There's no way the horse is going backwards off that run. It's interesting, there's 28 days between runs. Did they feel that the horse needed to have that bit of space? Was there something that might have gone slightly amiss? Or where they said, no, this is our next suitable run? And if they are with that intention and it parades well, then this horse is not going to be easy to beat.
Looks a good setup, and
the
Pike Factor will probably see it get out to a bit of price. The first race, it looked like a raffle to me when I was doing the prep, and now comes low confidence race. So don't think you'll be opening your scorecard in race 1.
Oh, not a chance in a million, Ralphy. not a chance in a million. Big giant field. And why I say that is because when I look at the QR, there's 11 horses that qualify in the black and yellow. That's my starting point. And then I look at the separation. If I take the horse right at the top, just off, because it's minus 1.2, and look at the rest, the compression is about 2 lengths, and it's anywhere from 2.2 to 4.9. So anything in that range is capable. And then I go a little bit further down, and there's a couple of horses that have run near benchmark at this distance, and I'm going, wow, it can't be easy.
No,
dangerous race, but I'm sure there's going to be a winner in there.
There will be one, absolutely. All right, so today you'll speak to a few local knowledge people, and we'll get some clarity tomorrow when we talk business on our mini pod. But that gives us a nice overview base for tomorrow. In the meantime, we really appreciate you being a customer of our Winterbottom Stakes Day preview edition of Year Round Carnival.